In 2007, you wrote an article for The Independent in which you outlined a blueprint for peace in Iraq. You advocated for devolution or decentralization and called for a regional economic and financial integration plan. Do you still stand by this prescription for Iraq's ailments?
I think not only do I stand by it, I think it's become essential for our survival and for the region. The region has been torn apart, and it's no different really from Europe after World War II. It's been torn apart by internal struggles and by foreign powers playing around, and by admittedly extremely cynical political class that has destroyed the integrity of several countries. Now, this can only be done, I think, there has to be internal reform through devolution of power, which means that we may have to restructure the power relationships in this country in a fundamentally different way within the geostrategic unit that is called Iraq. But Iraq is not an island upon itself. It has to be linked to other countries here. And the only way for this whole region to move is to create much closer links between the various units here. So a larger economic sphere that would include most of the countries of the Middle East, the Arab countries of the Middle East, together with perhaps the two major non-Arab regional powers, as a kind of new order for the Middle East, I think is absolutely essential. And that would have to start with economic relationships and integration at various levels, transport, perhaps energy, perhaps having uniform at some point in the future, some kind of currency arrangements. All of that, I think, removing trade barriers, removing the barriers of people moving around. There's a great deal of commonality in these countries. And if you look at it as a kind of one economic region without frontiers or borders, you can see how each one complements the other. Politics intrudes, but I don't think they're insurmountable. So at the local level, at the domestic level, we have to devolve power. We have to create new relationships between the units, the provincial units, even the region with the center. And at the regional level, the Middle Eastern level, or West Asia level, we have to think outside of the box. And we have to start the process of some form of economic integration that begins to gradually, by creating mutualities of interest, gradually remove the barriers of mistrust and lack of confidence. And then in time, looking down 10, 20 years down the line, I think young people will see that there is a far better future when they have a much larger canvas in which to live and work. And I think there's just no other way. We have nearly all the states that emerged from the post-Ottoman world are in a terrible situation now. And we have to ask ourselves why. Why is Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and what was then, Palestine, has been decimated in this way? And looking at the problems, you find a lot of them are really to do with this disintegration of bonds and ties that made the area quite a viable and economically vibrant area. And also there was some high degree of social and political stability, at least at the local level. We just have to recreate the circumstances for that. There's a lot of commonalities that can be used to build a new order in the Middle East.
Is this similar to an EU model?
Well, the EU, yes. I mean, the EU obviously has its own history and its own trajectory. But it could be, ASEAN is another model like that, where post-conflict societies got together and transcended their problems. It requires leadership, it requires a vision, and it requires a will. The resources, I think, will be found, so it's not a question. People always look at the money side first. The money side only is important after you've sorted out all the other issues. So I think we'll be pushed into that direction sooner rather than later.